The University of Mumbai has organized a conference to talk in detail about the issue of migration, something that has been making it to the top of headlines for quite some time now. And this happening in the backdrop of the social circumstances in not just countries neighboring to us, but also given the fact that it is going to become one of the important topics of contention, especially in view of the upcoming Mumbai Municipal Corporation elections, as politics over it has already begun. On this occasion, to talk about it is Professor J.K. Bajaj, an eminent scholar who has spent years studying the issue of migration. So, firstly, thanks for speaking to NDTV. First things first, how important is it for us to understand and to pay seriousness, or take serious notice of the issue of migration, especially in metro cities like Mumbai?
The issue of migration that is very important anyway, but the particular migration that is being talked about in this seminar or what has been studied is the migration of Bangladeshis into Mumbai. That is very important because partly because of this migration and partly perhaps even more importantly because of the differing natural rates of growth of the Muslims and Hindus, not only India, all across the world. The relative population of relative presence of Muslims in Indian continent has been changing drastically. From the data that we have collected, that 1881 census counted 20% Muslims in India, Pakistan and Bangladesh together. When you do the same count in 2001, it will be 30%, the difference of 10 percentage points. And there are projections for the future available from the UN. And according to that, in 2100, this number will be nearer 45%. So there's something very drastic happening. Migration is some part of it. And there is also very large difference in the natural growth of the two communities, which has been recorded for very long from all parts of the world. Okay, it's not only. I want to make one more point which you should know. This issue is not an election issue. This is a civilizational issue. It is not good to raise these issues in the context of an election because in the percentage share of a particular community rising in 1881 in 20% to around 45% by the end of our century is a civilizational change. It's not an electoral change here and there. Electoral changes will disappear. The civilizational changes change the histories.
Professor, the reason why I bring the political angle to it, of course, it is a civilizational issue, but when you look at it, when you look at the narratives of the parties, especially here in Mumbai leading up to the election, that is something which has been held up by the political parties, right? While one political party talks about the humanitarian treatment of the outsiders, whether legal or illegal, the other calls for them to be put out because they are a considerable voter bank. And in that context, I was mentioning.
You are right, and this is unfortunate that an issue which is belongs to the core values of a civilization, core existence of a civilization, has been made a partisan issue. If it were not made an electoral issue, perhaps everybody will be concerned.
Correct.
And to the extent we can keep it out of the electoral game, it will be good for India in the long term. That's my own understanding of this.
Professor, I also want to understand, because you spoke at length in the seminar in your opening remarks, while communicating the results or giving a macro or a micro analysis of an issue as sensitive as religious demography, and especially when at the very core of it we're talking about the increase of Muslim population in the subcontinent region, is there a need for you and your colleagues, scholars, to put an extra effort to make sure that everyone feels accepted and you reach to every common denominator? Because it can very easily sound divisive, if not done well.
You are right. Uh, these, as I said, are long-term historical civilizational issues. They cannot determine our social interaction with our co-brothers today, and they should not, because if they start determining, the issue will never get solved. The issue will get solved only when the others become similar to you, and in that context, perhaps this imbalance in growth which is happening, that will also come under control. It will not come under control by increasing conflicts. It will come under control by to us, looking at the very longer term perspective, is very clear that these conflicts that we keep raising, these are uh, in the civilizational context, these are very minor things. They are only disturbing the harmony and pattern of civilization growth.
So finally, if say a layman who has very limited knowledge about demography, especially religious demography, one can look at the rise of the Muslim population, which was at 20% in 1881 or 91 to 32 100 years later. How does it impact the lives of people today in a negative sense, or the dominance of a particular community rising?
Uh, one is it makes our strategic situation very difficult because if Pakistan today is 4 times what it was, actually it is 6 times what it was in 1950. And we are 4 times what we were in 1950. So the population of Pakistan keeps growing. It is a strategic issue for us. One is a straightforward strategic issue. The other is that the border areas where I've gone to, when this kind of change occurs, it is a life and death issue for many communities. People have to sell off their lands, people have to leave their houses. Even the census data will show that there will be many taluks of Lower Assam where there used to be Hindus, there are no Hindus today. So, looking at the gross data says, how does it matter? But we should understand that at the ground level, it matters. It matters. People have to stay or leave. And this has happened in India during partition also. People felt that we are all together. But then they had to leave from both sides. And none had planned for that. No, neither the Muslims from India had planned for that, nor the Hindus from Pakistan had planned for that kind of disturbance in their routine, in their life. These are not small things.
Correct.
And these happen when the religious imbalances increase. Only reason we had partition was because the population in those areas was growing much faster than elsewhere. So these have to be, it is the business of people who devise policy to ensure that this kind of imbalances do not persist for a long time.
So that's an important thing you say, and I want to end this interview with that because you've worked very closely with policy as a concept and policymakers as individuals as well. In the last 50 odd years, 70 odd years of our independence, do you think the policymakers perhaps have failed to achieve what should have been achieved in order to make sure that this imbalance doesn't grow as wider as it has today?
My personal feeling is, and now I'm not talking on behalf of anybody, that if India had economically and socially grown the way our peer nations grew, this problem would have had much less salience. We have not grown the way we needed to, and our peer nations have. China has, Thailand has, Indonesia has, even Vietnam has. If we had shown the same kind of development pattern which was necessary to sustain, then these problems would have become less salient. And these inequilibria that we see, they would have become less salient.
Thank you so much, Professor, for this insightful conversation. There we heard it from Professor J.K. Bajaj. With camera person Sunil Kankriyal, this is Anuj Raith reporting for NDTV from Mumbai.